Ladies and gentlemen, the captain has turned on the fasten seatbelt sign. If you haven't already done so, please make sure the volume of this podcast is set perfectly to your listening enjoyment. Please take your seat, whether that's on the treadmill, car, sofa, or bed, and buckle in for the last trip. My name is Jamie Beebe, and I'll be your tour guide, recreating someone's last days in paradise. On behalf of myself and everyone behind the scenes, please enjoy the Last Trip podcast. And because nobody likes a long flight to get to where they want to be, let's prepare for takeoff. It was just before dawn on August 12, 1992, when 36-year-old Pamela June Ray pulled into a motel parking lot in Panama City Beach, Florida. Her two young children were asleep in the back seat, unaware their lives were about to change forever. Pamela was seen speaking with a man near the motel pool. She locked the car, left her children inside, and walked away with him into the early morning darkness. Minutes later, someone heard a scream. By the time the sun came up, Pamela was gone, and she has never been seen again. Who was the man she followed? What happened in those missing minutes? And why, more than 3 decades later, does her disappearance remain one of Florida's most haunting mysteries? There's something about Panama City Beach that feels timeless. The hush of ocean wind before dawn, the stretch of white sand that glows like a memory, the gull cries over the Gulf water. To imagine Pamela's vacation in 1992, you have to step back to a place almost simpler, but also wider in many ways. In the early 1990s, Panama City Beach was already a destination, popular with families, vacationers, people chasing sun, salt, and some escape. The motels along Front Beach Road were modest, often aging. Neon signs flickered in the early morning, rental shops still open late. Dawn traffic, light but alive, with the soundtrack of engines, seagulls, and surf. There was no Pier Park, no large lifestyle center of shops and big brand stores. There were diners, local seafood joints, mom-and-pop motels, souvenir stands, and shell shops with crates of gleaming sand dollars. The Miracle Strip amusement park, one of the older, beloved rides and arcade staples, was still operating then. A wooden roller coaster, bumper cars, carnival lights, cotton candy sugar nights. Families drove in from Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee. They brought beach chairs, buckets, towels, and coolers. Kids built sandcastles, chased foam, and ran into the surf. Pamela and her children likely caught sunrise somewhere along that stretch of coastline. The water, so often calm in the early hours, would reflect the pink dawn. The parking lots at motels were quiet before motel clerks unlocked doors and turned on porch lights. Today, Panama City Beach still has that white sugar sand and that turquoise fringe of Gulf water. But the town has grown. Motels have given way to resorts. Big developments, shopping areas, attractions designed for families looking for more than just the shore. Pier Park now stands where once there were only small shops and plain sidewalks. The Miracle Strip amusement park is gone. It closed in 2004. Some of its rides were revived and relocated, but the old carnival atmosphere is mostly memories. There are now high-rise condominiums, full-service resorts, countless restaurants, and themed attractions. The town markets itself heavily to families. Water parks, pirate ship cruises, dolphin spotting, mini golf, fun parks. The infrastructure is built for tourists. The traffic is thicker in summer. The sunrise is still beautiful, but mixed now with the hum of more traffic, more people, more construction. And yet, for a mother traveling with children, much like Pamela was in 1992, Panama City Beach still offers magic. If you were visiting now, here's how a day might go. Start early, the cool ocean air, dew on sand, collecting shells. Maybe head to St. Andrew's Park or one of the quieter public beaches before the crowds build. Let the kids fly kites, wade in shallow surf. After that, a boat or dolphin tour. The Sea Dragon pirate cruise, dolphin spotting cruises that leave from the marina. You can take a shuttle or charter to Shell Island, a 7-mile barrier island undeveloped, a wild sort of refuge, perfect for snorkeling, watching birds, or gathering shells. When the sun climbs high, there is relief in indoor options. Mirror mazes, trampolines, laser tag, arcades. Well, these are pretty plentiful now. There's mini golf and family fun parks are everywhere. Coconut Creek Family Fun Park is one, Race City Amusement Park another. And if you've got curious children, there are plenty of museums and learning shops, like the Man in the Sea Museums offering diving history, hands-on exhibits of underwater equipment. It's not huge, but it is unique. And when you're hungry, find a meal with a view. Seafood grills, little beach shack-style eateries, places where you can watch sunset, maybe hear live music. Let the kids pick desserts, ice cream, milkshakes, novelty treats. It's all there. And in the evening, Pier Park is a major gathering place. Shops, performances, ice cream stands, ocean views. And when night falls, lights glow, the breeze picks up, kids chase fountains or lights, and families settle in for fried seafood with Gulf breezes. What always remains the same through time in Panama City Beach is the sea. The pull of surf against sand, the space between one wave and the next, the smell of salt and sunscreen, of damp flotation devices, the way dawn looks over the water, the sound of tire rubber on hot pavement when you pull into a motel lot in the early morning, exhausted, looking for vacancy. In 1992, Pamela's vacation was supposed to be just that, a place to breathe before school, to let morning light wash over a long night of driving. She came to the Gulf Coast, searching not just for sand and sunshine, but for a chance to unwind, to reconnect, and to give her kids those simple, unforgettable summer experiences. To truly understand her disappearance, we first have to understand the woman behind the headlines. The mother, the daughter, the friend, whose life was filled with far more than mystery. This is Pamela's story. Pamela June Ray was born on October 3rd, 1956. The kind of small-town Georgia girl who carried both grit and grace in her bones. To her family, she was Pam, the dependable one, the soft-spoken sister with a ready laugh and a stubborn streak that came out when she needed it most. She grew up close to her sister Rhonda, just 5 years apart in age, and the bond between them was the kind that outlasted childhood. The two leaned on each other through every season of life, and in adulthood, they were still pretty inseparable, sharing secrets, trading advice, finishing each other's sentences the way only sisters do. By the time Pam was in her mid-30s, she was living in Villa Rica, Georgia, a historic mill town just west of Atlanta. Now, life wasn't glamorous, but it was full. She had a husband, 2 young children, and a home that echoed with the ordinary music of family life. Her son, Michael Shane, was 12, and her daughter, Brandy, just 5. Being a mother was at the center of everything Pam did. She was that kind of mom who packed snacks and towels for last-minute road trip, who would lose sleep just to give her kids a memory of the ocean before the school year began. Friends and relatives describe her as quiet but strong, a woman who put her family before herself. She had warm brown eyes and long brown hair that she often wore simply, without fuss. She wasn't chasing big adventures or a spotlight. Her joys were closer to home, watching her children grow, keeping her family close, and staying connected to her roots. Of course, there was also a spontaneous side to Pam. She liked the idea of escape, of piling into the car and heading south toward the Gulf when the mood struck. Panama City Beach wasn't far, but to Pam, it felt like another world. Salt air, sand between your toes, waves to lull the kids to sleep at night. It was freedom, and it was tradition. For families like hers, that stretch of Florida coast was a rite of passage, a place to go when you needed the sea to remind you that life was still wide open. Her sister Rhonda later remembered how much Pam looked forward to that August trip in 1992. It was supposed to be the last taste of summer before school began. A break from routine, a way to give her children one more memory of their mom at the beach. Rhonda had even planned to go along, but life got in the way, and Pam went without her. That decision would haunt her family forever. To get to know Pamela June Ray is to see her not as a name in an unsolved case file, but as a mother with sandy flip-flops tucked under her seat, a woman who carried herself with quiet resilience, and a sister whose absence still feels like a raw edge in her family's story. She wasn't chasing headlines. She was chasing a sunrise with her kids. And that's who she was, before everything changed. It all began simply enough. On the morning of August 11th, 1992, Pam left her home in Villa Rica, Georgia, with her 2 children in tow. She spent the day in Luthersville visiting her brother, and nothing seemed unusual. Pam was smiling, making plans, carrying the quiet energy of a mother trying to hold her travels together. That evening, around 10:30 p.m., she hugged her brother goodbye, loaded Brandy and Michael Shane into the backseat of her blue Plymouth Sundance, and set off on the road south. It was a 6-hour drive to Panama City Beach. A long way, especially at that hour. But it made sense. Nighttime meant her children would sleep, their small heads resting against the glass while she drove through the dark. Recently becoming a stepmom myself, I totally understand wanting to drive all night while they sleep. The trip had been planned, at least in part, ahead of time. Pam had phoned the Wilhite Motel the night before, just before 7 p.m. The manager, Tim Hairston, remembered her voice clearly. She'd asked about a room, and he explained that none were available that evening, but that one would be free by 9 or 10 the following morning. Pam said that would be fine. She'd be there in the morning. But Pam arrived too early. After driving all night, she reached Panama City Beach around 4:30 a.m., 5 full hours before the room was supposed to be ready. The streets along the strip were dimly lit, humid air thick with salt. No vacancy signs glowing red against the pre-dawn haze. And she tried. She stopped at more than one motel. Some were closed, others full. No doors opened for her. Finally, exhausted, she parked in front of the Wilhite Motel office, the same place she'd called ahead to. The children stayed asleep in the back seat, tucked under the cocoon of locked doors and night air. Witnesses later recalled seeing her sitting in the car around 5 a.m., just waiting. Maybe she was passing the time until the office opened. Maybe she was simply too tired to keep looking. At 5:25 in the morning, an officer on a routine patrol passed by, and he saw Pam standing outside her car speaking to a man nearby. The officer didn't intervene because there was nothing alarming about the scene. But what happened next has defined the case ever since. When the man began walking toward the parking lot, Pamela locked her car, left her purse, her traveler's checks, and her keys inside, and followed him. She also left Brandy and Michael asleep in the back seat. She was seen walking through the lobby toward the motel pool. Another witness noticed that the man appeared to be following her. And then came the sound. At about 5:30 in the morning, people in the nearby hotel rooms heard a scream. A woman's voice, high and terrified, calling out into the stillness. But the rooms of the Wilhite had no phones, no way for anyone to call police from the inside. And soon after, a storm came. Rain swept across Panama City Beach, 2 inches, falling in a matter of hours, drenching the pavement and carrying away whatever evidence might have remained. And around 8:30 that morning, the motel manager found the children, still asleep in the locked car. Their mother had never come back. Pamela June Ray? She vanished. And from the beginning, investigators knew this was not a case of a woman who had simply walked away. Pamela's car sat waiting, purse and keys inside. Her children, her entire world, they were left alone. Her family was quick to remind authorities that Pam was a devoted mother, protective and present. She would not have abandoned them. And then there was the scream. Witnesses confirmed it. Shouts for help around the very moment Pamela was last seen alive. Now, the combination of circumstances left little doubt. Foul play. The search began immediately. Panama City Beach Police, the Bay County Sheriff's Office, and the Florida Department of Law Enforcement all joined forces. Helicopters scanned the beaches and the state parks. Officers searched on horseback, ATVs, and on foot. Cadaver dogs were brought in. They combed the motel rooms along the front beach road one by one. And still, there was nothing. Pam's family rushed down from Georgia. They passed out flyers, knocking on doors, stopping strangers. They searched abandoned buildings, questioned suspicious drivers, and followed every single rumor. Her father, Ralph Bennett, was tireless. He posted decals on his car with Pam's face and a phone number, offering a $10,000 reward that he raised himself. He told reporters that they had searched everywhere they could think of, but found nothing, not a single clue. Tips poured in. Dispatchers fielded up to 20 calls a day. Some seemed credible, but others were desperate stretches. A California psychic claimed Pam was in the woods, so officers searched a patch of West Bay but found no trace. Other psychics reached out describing visions of candied apples or strange words that carried supposed meanings. Pamela's family chased them all, refusing to leave any stone unturned. Time passed, and with each day, the likelihood of finding Pam alive diminished. Investigators said it plainly. The first 72 hours are everything in a case like this. After that, hope narrows. 3 months later, the family found a way to push her story into the national spotlight when Rolf wrote to the producers of Unsolved Mysteries. In December 1992, the show aired Pamela's case. And viewers across the Southeast saw her face, her story, her children waiting for answers. The police department's phones lit up with 40 to 50 calls. But again, no Pam. The months and years that followed brought heartbreak in fragments. In 1993, unidentified remains in South Florida were tested against Pam's dental records. Not her. That same year, a cache of photographs of women turned up in Virginia, but none were Pam. In 1994, 2 boys in Washington County stumbled across human bones in the woods. Investigators tested them, but they didn't belong to Pam. And still, the reports came. Her brother swore he saw her once, riding in a Lincoln Town car on an Alabama interstate. Others claimed she was spotted waiting tables or working in laundromats. Each sighting was investigated, and each one collapsed into dust. Now, through it all, Pam's father kept searching. He drove back and forth from Georgia to Florida, walking the beaches, passing out flyers, refusing to surrender to silence. His devotion to his daughter never wavered. But the fact remains. The last known image of Pamela June Ray is in that half-light of a humid Florida morning, walking toward the motel pool with a man close behind her, her children asleep in a locked car, her purse and keys waiting for her return. A scream in the dark, a summer storm, and then nothing.
Think you know true crime? Think again. We're diving into the bizarre and the cases that leave you questioning everything.
I'm Amber.
And I'm Gina. We're the hosts of Weird True Crime, a podcast that explores the strangest, most mind-boggling cases out there.
From the dark history behind everyday things you think you know, to cases so wild they sound like fiction, we dig into it all.
Behind every headline, every missing persons poster, and every unsolved case, There are families who are still searching for answers and loved ones who refuse to be forgotten.
We speak with families of the missing and murdered, helping them tell their stories, spread awareness, and keep hope alive.
Because too often, these cases don't get the attention they deserve.
Whether you're drawn to the unbelievable, the unsolved, or the heartbreaking, we're here to tell these stories with the care and respect they deserve.
Listen to Weird True Crime wherever you get your podcasts.
Because crime is weird.
And the truth is stranger than fiction.
Now, whenever someone vanishes without a trace, one of the first theories to emerge is the possibility that they left by choice. Now, for Pam, it's an unlikely option. On the surface, there were reasons to ask. Just months before her disappearance, Pam and several members of her family found themselves entangled in a federal investigation. It began with a mistake. A bank employee accidentally wired $400,000 to Pam's father, Ralph. Now, instead of reporting the error, Ralph and the family began spending the money. I probably would too. They purchased items, paid some debts, and even acquired a condo at the Gulf Highlands Beach Resort in Panama City. But what must have felt like a sudden fortune quickly turned into disaster. Because authorities uncovered the error, and in 1991, Ralph pleaded guilty to theft of mislaid property. Now, he repaid most of the cash, but prosecutors grew frustrated at how slowly the restitution came. In 1992, indictments expanded. Pamela and her husband and several other family members were formally charged in connection with the fraud. Now, they were all released on bond while awaiting trial. For some, this might have been a motive. But Pam was a devoted mother. She carried the responsibility of raising Brandy and Michael Shane close to her heart. Anyone who knew her, including investigators, agreed that she would never abandon them. From the very beginning, all signs pointed to foul play. The question was, by whose hand? In the hours before dawn on August 12th, a Panama City police officer passed by the Wilhite Motel. He saw Pam standing outside her car, speaking with a man. The officer described him as a white male, tall and thin, about 6'1" and 150 pounds, with light hair and pale eyes. He remembered the striped shirt the man wore, dark and light horizontal bands that stood out in the glow of the streetlights. Now, at one point, the officer noticed Pam lock her car, then followed the man toward the motel's lobby. Later, the officer underwent hypnosis in hopes of recalling more detail, but the identity of the stranger was never uncovered. Witnesses said this same man had been seen urinating in public earlier that morning, a crude and unsettling detail that added to the mystery. Was he a drifter, a predator, or just an innocent bystander forever linked to a terrible coincidence? Now, police were never sure, but they couldn't rule him out. Now, just a day after Pam disappeared, another possible suspect surfaced. 29-year-old Andrew Paul Henry was arrested and charged with the kidnapping and rape of a Chipley woman just a few months earlier. Now, the crime was brutal. He had allegedly abducted her from a convenience store, struck her with a bottle, choked her into unconsciousness before taking her into the woods and raping her. Though he threatened to kill her, she managed to talk her way free. The woman later identified him in a photo lineup. Yet, due to discrepancies between his appearance and her description, he was released. Authorities briefly considered whether Andrew might have crossed paths with him in Panama City Beach. But there was never enough evidence to tie him to her case. And he has since died, which leaves behind only questions. And then, years later, came the name that would loom largest over Pam's disappearance: Mark Reeby. Now, Mark was a convicted killer, later believed to be a serial killer, serving time for the murder of Donna Callahan, another Florida woman whose case was once featured on Unsolved Mysteries. In 1999, Mark suddenly confessed to abducting and murdering Pam, and his story was chilling. He claimed he and his wife had been out partying when they spotted Pam's car with out-of-state license plates parked at the Wilhite Motel. So they decided to rob her. Mark said he followed her into the lot, threatened her at knife point, and forced her to leave with him. He claimed she begged for her life, telling him she had 2 young children asleep in the car. He said he killed her anyway, disposing of her body either in Point Washington State Forest or by dumping her in the ocean. Investigators were stunned by the details. When pressed to provide more information only the killer would know, Mark told them Pam had been holding a single key in her hand when she vanished, something that had never been made public. To make matters worse, Pam's sister noticed a photo of Mark's wife wearing a piece of jewelry they believed had once belonged to Pam. Mark later recanted his confession, dismissing it as a lie he told under pressure, just as he had with confessions to other disappearances. Still, police have never been able to shake their suspicion that he knows far more than he has ever admitted. And Pam's family is convinced he's responsible. Then the case only grew more tangled. In the year 2000, skeletal remains were discovered just 100 yards from where Mark's victim, Donna Callahan, had been buried. Now, at first, police thought they might belong to Pam, but forensic testing ruled that out. The discovery came with another strange twist. The bones were found by a cadaver dog named Eagle, a dog that had been featured on Unsolved Mysteries for his remarkable finds. But years later, Eagle's handler was accused of planting human bones at crime scenes to enhance her dog's reputation. So it's hard to say whether those bones were really found there or whether it was Eagle's handler planting those bones. But even decades later, unsettling stories continue to emerge. In 2019, Pam's sister Rhonda and Mark's daughter Jelena made contact. Now, Jelena recounted a haunting memory from her childhood. She remembered her family suddenly packing up their Florida home and driving to property in Illinois. Once there, she said her father made the family dig large holes. He then filled them with heavy trash bags he had brought from Florida. And Jelena believes those bags contained human remains. But even more disturbing, she recalled her mother wearing the same ring that, to this day, Pam's family swears was hers. Investigators searched the Illinois property, but they found no trace of human remains. Still, the story added another layer of unease to the already sinister shadow surrounding Mark Reeby. Today, there's no single suspect who can be definitely tied to Pam's disappearance. But foul play remains the most accepted theory. The unknown man in the striped shirt, Andrew Paul Henry, and most of all confessed serial killer Mark Reeby, each represents a thread in the dark tangle of possibilities. Through it all, that image of Pam lingers. A mother stepping away from her children for only a moment, caught in the humid Florida night, unknowingly walking toward her fate. Pamela's case is haunting not only because of the mystery, but because it began with something so ordinary. The mother arriving at a motel with her children, ready for a family vacation. It's a reminder that even the most everyday moments can turn in unexpected ways. And while Panama City Beach remains a beloved destination, her story also raises an important question for anyone traveling there today. How do we balance the joy of a trip with the awareness needed to stay safe? Now, when you think of Panama City Beach, you probably picture wide stretches of white sand, the turquoise shimmer on the water, and the easy rhythm of a beach vacation. It's a place families have been coming to for decades, a town that feels built on sunscreen, salty air, and laughter echoing off the waves. But like any destination, PCB has 2 sides: the postcard image and the realities you need to know before you go. Today, PCB has a reputation for sunshine and spring break crowds, but it also carries one of the higher property crime rates in Florida. According to crime data, your chance of becoming a victim of property crime here is about 1 in 29. And that's car break-ins, thefts, and burglaries. Violent crime is less common, but it does happen. The odds of that are about 1 in 94. And when you narrow the lens to nighttime hours, when the streets are quieter and the motels grow still, those risks rise. And that context matters when you remember Pamela. She was doing something we've all done, pulling into a motel parking lot with her kids asleep in the back seat. It was early morning, the world still gray and quiet. She locked the car, maybe planning to check the lobby or use the restroom. Just steps from safety. But in those hours, before dawn, with so few people awake, vulnerability filled the gaps between motel lights and shadows. Pamela's disappearance reminds us of something travelers sometimes forget. The smallest choices, like where you park, what you leave in your car, how visible you make yourself. Those choices can tip the balance between routine and tragedy. So, what can we learn from her story? First, think about where you keep your valuables. Pamela's purse and keys were left inside her locked car, and that was normal then. But today, in PCB especially, that's a red flag. Cars are easy targets. Take your essentials with you or use a hotel safe, but never leave things in sight. Second, daylight is your friend. Yes, arriving at sunrise or slipping out at midnight may seem harmless, but those hours are lonelier. Plan to travel when more people are out, when visibility is better, when the risk is lower. Third, where you stay matters. Hotels and motels vary widely. Some are well lit and staffed around the clock, others not so much. If you're traveling with kids, look for properties with clear security measures, visible staff, and plenty of lighting in the lots and corridors. And then there's awareness, just noticing who's around you. In Pamela's case, a man was seen with her that morning, following her from her car. That detail may never be fully explained, but it's a reminder that your instincts matter. If someone approaches you in a parking lot, if you feel that hair on your neck rise, do not brush it off. Trust that signal. Safety can also be as simple as staying connected, letting someone know your plans, giving them the name of your hotel, even snapping a quick photo of your car in the lot. Now, if something unexpected happens, those details matter. They create a trail when you can't. And then there are the elements we forget about. Weather, for instance. In Florida, storms can sweep in fast. They can erase evidence, footprints, or tire tracks in a matter of minutes. If a storm is coming, wait it out. Don't take chances on dark roads or unfamiliar places when visibility drops. The truth is, travel safety isn't about fear. It's about presence. It's about being just a little more alert than you think you need to be. It's the quiet choices, parking under a light instead of in the shadows, keeping your children close, double-checking lock. Now picture yourself arriving in Panama City Beach, tired from the drive, but excited for the days ahead. The kids are asleep, the Gulf breeze is heavy with salt air. You pull into the lot, the glow of the traffic sign cutting through the dark, and then you pause. You park close to the lobby, where the light spills out onto the pavement. You keep your purse on your shoulder, phone in hand, and you walk with purpose. Now, those small, steady decisions can make the difference between a memory and a mystery. Pamela's story is a hard one to hear, but it leaves us with a message. Don't surrender your awareness, even in the safest feeling moments. Travel prepared, stay alert, and still let yourself enjoy the waves, the laughter, the light of a Florida morning. Because protecting yourself and your family isn't about taking the joy away from the trip. It's about making sure you get to bring every memory home. Pamela June Ray has now been missing for more than 3 decades, and yet her case remains suspended in time, frozen in that humid August night when she stepped away from her children for only a moment and never returned. At the time of her disappearance, Pam was just 36 years old. She stood 5'3", weighed about 110 pounds, brown hair, brown eyes, and a small scar on her head. Her ears were pierced, and that morning she wore purple and black flip-flops, a watch, a wedding band, and a 1-carat diamond solitaire ring. She may have also been wearing a necklace. Now, some accounts place her in a red tank top and black shorts. Others say cut-off denim shorts and a white shirt. She drove a blue 1991 Plymouth Sundance. Now, these are the details that still matter, because they are the pieces someone, somewhere, might remember. Pam was last seen in front of the Wilhite Motel in the early morning hours of August 12, 1992. Authorities have long hoped that someone, perhaps a tourist staying at the Wilhite, the beachside motel, White's Motel, or the El Dorado that night, may have seen something unusual. A sound, a face, a scream in the dark. Maybe they dismissed it as nothing at the time. Maybe it lingers now, like a memory just out of reach. Her family has never stopped searching. Her children grew up without their mother, carrying her absence like an open wound. Her father, he devoted years of his life to finding her, handing out flyers, chasing leads, refusing to let her name disappear. And still, the truth remains elusive. Pamela did not walk away willingly. Every piece of evidence tells us that she was taken from her children, her car, and her life. And someone, perhaps more than one someone, still knows what happened to her that morning. If you know anything about the disappearance of Pamela June Ray, no matter how small, please reach out to the Panama City Police Department at 904-233-5000. Your call could be the one that brings a measure of truth or closure to a family that has been living in the shadow of that night for far too long. Pamela deserves to be found, and her family deserves answers. Until then, her story lingers like the sound of waves against the shore. Restless, unending, unresolved. And finally, remember to leave a review and rate this podcast 5 stars if you like the show, or hell, even if you don't. But either way, feel free to let me know what you think. Please follow The Last Trip on Instagram at The Last Trip Crime Pod, and subscribe on Patreon to support the show. You'll get extra research, videos, photos, and updates, and even learn more about my personal travels. That's patreon.com/thelasttrippodcast. I'm Jamie Beebe, bringing you your last trip and signing off until the next one. Thanks for listening.